Please, I'm so sorry to interrupt. Every table is full and I only need a corner. I'll be invisible, I promise. The man said it with such quiet sincerity that Corinna Voss almost missed it beneath the noise of the restaurant. He was standing at the edge of her table, holding his coat over one arm, and he looked, there was no other word for it, exhausted. Not the exhaustion of someone who had worked a long day, but the deeper kind, the kind that lives behind the eyes and has been there for a while. His shirt was good but slightly rumpled. His shoes were excellent and slightly wet from the rain outside. He looked like someone who had been somewhere important and then come untethered from it. Corinna was 29 years old, and it was her birthday, and she was celebrating it the way she had celebrated the last 3, quietly, at her favorite corner table at Aldine's, a warm and unhurried restaurant on Pembroke Street where the lighting was amber and the bread came without asking. She had come alone, which her friends found eccentric and her father found worrying, and which she found year after year exactly right. She liked her own company on her birthday. She liked the ritual of ordering the things she always ordered, of reading a few pages of whatever book she had brought, of simply being in a warm room and feeling the year turn over without performance. She lived with her father, Wendell Voss, 64, in the large house he had built when her mother was alive and had never quite been able to leave since. Corinna ran the creative division of Voss Media Group, which her father had founded and which she had grown in the past 4 years into something significantly more substantial than it had been when she took it over. She was, by most measures, very successful. She was also, by her own quiet reckoning, still figuring out the parts of life that success did not automatically solve. She looked at the man standing at her table. She looked at the empty chair across from her. She looked back at him. "Sit," she said simply. "It's just me." He looked surprised. Genuinely, as if he had expected negotiation, or at least hesitation. "Are you certain? I really will be invisible. I just need to eat something and sit down for 20 minutes. "You already said that," she said, not unkindly. "The chair is there." He sat. He ordered quickly, from the menu he had clearly looked at before approaching, and then folded his hands on the table and exhaled in a way that suggested the exhale had been postponed for several hours. He glanced at the book beside her plate. "Sorry, is it your birthday?" She looked up. The small single candle in the holder on her table, which Aldine's placed automatically for birthday reservations, had apparently answered the question before she could. "It is," she said. "And you're spending it alone." "I'm spending it with a book and very good pasta," she said. "And now apparently with you." Something in his expression shifted, not quite a smile, but the softening that precedes one. "I'm Dorian," he said. "Corinna." They did not talk much after that, which she found surprisingly comfortable. He ate, she read. The restaurant moved around them in its warm amber way. Once he said, unprompted, looking at his plate, "I had a meeting tonight that I've been dreading for 6 months. It's finished now. That's what the 20 minutes is for."
She set her book down. "Did it go well?" A pause. "It went honestly, which is sometimes better than well, and harder." He looked up. "My company has been struggling. Tonight I told the board the full picture. No managed version of it, just the truth." She looked at him with the attention she gave to things that mattered. "That takes more courage than most people think." "I'm not sure courage is what it was," he said. "I think I just ran out of the energy to keep the other version going." She nodded slowly. She understood that particular exhaustion. She had felt it herself 3 years ago, when she had taken over the creative division and inherited a strategy that wasn't working and had spent 4 months pretending it might before finally dismantling it entirely and starting again. "Sometimes," she said, "honesty is what's left when everything else costs too much." He looked at her for a moment. "Yes," he said, "that's exactly it." They were quiet again, and this time the quiet had a different quality. Not the polite silence of strangers, but the easier silence of people who have said something real to each other and don't need to fill the space around it. It was when the check arrived that the evening reordered itself. A man in a dark jacket appeared at the edge of the table, unhurried, professional, the way certain people move when they are used to making things happen without drawing attention. He leaned slightly toward Dorian and said, in a voice pitched for the table alone, "Sir, the car is outside when you're ready. Mr. Hargrove called. He said to let you know the board voted to extend, unanimously." Dorian went very still. Then he closed his eyes for just a moment. Corinna watched this and understood, with the quiet perceptiveness that had always been her most useful quality, that something significant had just happened to the man across from her. The name that had been used, Mr. Hargrove, landed in her memory with a soft but recognizable weight. Dorian Hargrove, She knew that name. The industry press had carried it for years. Hargrove Collective, a privately held media and communications conglomerate. She had read, 3 months ago, a piece about internal turbulence at the board level. She had not connected it to the rumpled webshoot man who had asked to sit in her corner. He opened his eyes. He looked at her across the birthday table with its amber candle, and his expression was the particular expression of a person who has been seen without meaning to be. "You know," he said, not accusingly, just noting it. "I just connected it," she said, "Dorian Hargrove." A pause. "I didn't tell you because I needed tonight to be not that. I needed to eat something and sit in a normal place and talk to a person who wasn't thinking about quarterly projections." She looked at him steadily. "And did you get that?" He glanced at the candle, at the book, at the table that she had set with a single place setting for a quiet birthday. "Yes," he said, "more than I expected." She smiled, a real one, not the professional kind. "Good." The driver withdrew discreetly. Dorian reached for the check, and she let him take it, because it felt like the right kind of exchange for the evening. She had given him a corner and 20 minutes and a sentence about honesty, and he was giving her the bill for her birthday pasta, and neither of them was keeping score. At the door of Aldine's, they stood in the brief shelter of the awning while the rain continued outside. The street was wet and amber-lit and quiet. "Can I ask you something?" "Yes." "Why did you let me sit? You didn't know me. It's your birthday. You had every reason to say no." She considered this with the honesty it deserved. "You looked like someone who needed a corner," she said. "I had one. That seemed like the whole equation." He was quiet for a moment. The rain fell steadily. "My wife used to say something like that," he said. "She died 4 years ago. She used to say that the only question worth asking about another person is whether they need something you have." Karina felt the weight of that settle gently around them. She was right, she said softly. He nodded. Then, "Happy birthday, Karina."
"Thank you, Dorian." He walked to the car. She stood under the awning a moment longer, watching the rain make its quiet patterns on Pembroke Street, thinking about a seat at a table and a candle and a man who had needed 20 minutes to exhale, and how the smallest offers of simple human space had a way of meaning more than anyone planned when they made them. She went home to her father's house. Wendell was still awake, reading in his chair, and he looked up when she came in and said, "Good birthday?" "Yes," she said, hanging her coat. "A good one." He looked at her face. "Something happened?" "Someone needed a corner," she said. "I had one." He smiled, the slow smile of a man who recognized his daughter in that sentence. "Your mother used to do that," he said. She sat on the arm of his chair for a moment, the way she had since she was small. Outside, the rain continued its steady, unhurried work. Kindness doesn't require knowing someone's name before it pulls out a chair. It just sees the need and meets it, simply, without calculation. And sometimes the most ordinary table on the most ordinary evening becomes the place where something real begins. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Let's spread more stories of kindness and hope together.